Hola, mi nombre es Fred Grant, vivo en Washington y soy editor de videos de día y producer de videos de noche. I have 15 years experience pretty much doing everything from script to screen. I've done screenwriting, producing, video directing, motion graphics, VFX, post-production, anything you can think of that's film and storytelling related, I've done. When I'm telling a story, what I think about is, why am I telling the story? Like, for example, my friend made a photo of his girlfriend with like a hover bike, and it was in a desert setting, and I thought it was a really cool photo, and I thought, oh, let me make a story around this. Like, who's this character? What's this world like? And so it ended up being a short film called Land of the Behemoths. It's on YouTube right now. But yeah, that was just, it didn't really have a point to it. I just wanted to practice my VFX skills, things like that. Nowadays, I've really, thanks to COVID, unfortunately I have to say that, but I spent a lot of time inside, and only thing you really could do is write. So I did a lot of writing, and I discovered that like people, they have stories to tell. Everybody has some kind of hardship or overcoming it. Maybe a moral of a story. I think that if you have a moral of a story, like you're teaching some sort of lesson, that can go a long way. And I think that can stand the test of time. For example, Attack on Titan, I think, is so powerful because it deals with, corruption, and it deals with like military feuding families and backgrounds. It's very relatable to things that exist today, throughout history, and probably in the future. And I think that's why it was so famous and got such a big following. One thing I also want to mention is the act of doing is the most crucial aspect. I moved to Los Angeles a few years ago, and everybody I met said that they were a director, writer, actor, producer, entrepreneur. And I would say, oh, let me see your stuff. And they would say, oh, well, I haven't gotten my reel together, or I've got some concepts for a script, but I haven't really written anything. So it's like, so you're doing this as your profession, but you haven't done anything yet. So do you see where the issue is? You have to do stuff. Even if you're bad, do it for free. Reach out to communities, see where you can volunteer doing it, get involved with those communities, get on projects. The better you get, the more people will talk to you. You'll get clients returning, you'll get word of mouth, you'll get recognition. But you have to do it. Even if it's bad, even if you're just testing something and it doesn't go anywhere, do it. The more you do it, you will get better. I think the most common mistake that I can think of that most writers do is this, not really having maybe a concept but not knowing how to develop it, having a beginning but not an ending, not really seeing the idea all the way through. Sometimes the concepts are good, just concepts alone, but they don't translate well to that medium. So maybe something that's live action might not be good in animation, or animation might not be good live action. Maybe something that's a story doesn't really translate to video. It's just a good book. It's hard to tell unless you just do it. And I think that goes back into what I was just talking about, is a lot of people just don't do it. They don't know any better. And they also don't take criticism very well. You have to accept criticism, and I think everyone's got their own opinion, but you want to look at common denominators. Like if everyone's saying they don't get the ending, then that's an issue. But if one person's saying they don't get it and everybody else does, or somebody says, I don't like the color yellow, but everybody else does, you can write that off. But if everyone's saying they don't understand the connection of something, then you've got a problem, and you've got to listen to it. And you've got to be willing to take creative criticism. 100,000% yes, it is very important to take in other artists' concepts and creative works. That's what creativity is you're taking other things that exist and you're making something new out of it. That's essentially what I do, and I think that's what everybody else does. You might like a story and maybe they did something good but they missed an opportunity. You can tell that same or similar story, but fill in, make it better, improve on it, constantly build and improve. I think that's what our purpose is to creatively build, grow, learn. So I think I think you definitely need to get inspiration. Anytime I need to have a client and I'm stuck, I will watch something and I'll listen to some music, and that will get me in the right headspace. Sometimes you can get creatively blocked, and you just got to go on a walk and get your mind off of it, and then something will come to you. Your subconscious is so vast and wide that you can't understand it. just step away from it for a minute, and sometimes it comes to you. Or sometimes just write it out. If you don't have the answer right now, just write or create, and then you'll come back to it, because your brain will be working in the background while you're going forward. And sometimes going forward, you can look back and go, I've got that answer. So, all right, so talking about ambitious project. When I was just graduating college, I tried to make my first feature film, and I tried to do this big scale fantasy. It's called Dekaru, the Three Stones. It was on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure where it is now, but yeah, it was such a learning experience, and it was way too much. The story was too much to take on as a first time filmmaker, because it was just the budget wasn't there, and I had to wear a lot of hats and do a lot of roles really fast. I wasn't used to it, because the short film, you can really just do it in like a couple days and focus on the creativity. But funny enough, the fun part about the feature film is the creative part, but you spend most of your time budgeting and planning and scheduling and hiring people and working with actors. It's more of just a project, honestly. It's not even, the creativity is the fun part, but it's so small that you don't really get to enjoy it too much. So that said, write within your wheelhouse. Write things that you know how to do already from personal experiences. Don't make the scale too big too fast, and don't write about things you don't know about. Really do your research and study everything. If you're starting off, even if you're an illustrator, writer, whatever, keep the story to one character. Maybe if you can tell a compelling story with one character, then you can do a lot with a huge budget, with a grand scale. So that's my advice as far as ambition goes. But right now, I found that all the ideas I've had with video games recently, that's my new passion, is yeah, just if it's nice to take that medium, and if I can't get locations in real life, the video game actually can expand on that. If I can do bigger scales, even if I don't have the bigger budgets these days. So I've been able to change mediums and slowly build from there. Dear students of the International Design Program, your teacher Caesar is one of the best artists I've ever had the pleasure of working with. On the Crusadia Connected project, it was him and Himwan Pandu. They're the two lead artists, and if I had a studio, I would hire them immediately. His coloring is fantastic. If you haven't seen his resume, you should definitely give it a check. Diving into the Crusadia Connected project, the pandemic had just started, and this is a project I've been wanting to do, but the scale was so large, it would require a budget way larger than anything I've ever had access to do, especially if it was live action or animated. So my wife was reading Lore Olympus, I think, and she was the one who told me about webtoon, and I thought this is a perfect forum, because I know how to write. And if you're a good writer, or I'm not saying I'm the best writer, but I'm just saying if you know how to write, it can be applied to multiple mediums. Not just film. Like, it can do animation and books and everything. You just need to know how to tell a good story, a captivating character, successes, failures, everything like that. So it translated just fine, I think. And I think the hardest part actually was trying to figure out the design process, like having to get the characters created and find artists to do that, and like try to figure out how the paneling would go and things like that. That was actually the hardest part, because I didn't know anything about doing manga or webtoons or anything like that. So that was the biggest learning curve for me. But having said that, I was very, very happy with the final product. Honestly, I wanted to crank it out faster than the artist could do it. So I feel bad, because it definitely caused me to have to go back and redo things, because we're going such a fast pace. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm very happy, and I hope to keep it going in the future. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Hasta luego.